August the 22nd, harvestman, harvest mice and caterpillars. Harvestman. August sees the beginning of harvest time, when children in the past had their main school holiday so that they could help their parents gather in the harvest. Even small children were used to frighten rooks away from taking any gleanings left in the fields. Harvestmen, Apiliones, although closely related to spiders, are quite different, having no fangs and no ability to spin silk, and consequently completely harmless. At this time of year, they have a habit of wandering into our houses. They have 8 legs like a spider, but their legs are often so long they give the impression they're walking on stilts. A closer look usually reveals a small, round, compact body with no waist and a pair of eyes set comically on the top of their backs. When first encountered, they often freeze, or bob up and down, or make a half-hearted attempt to slowly escape. They can easily lose a leg during these interactions, leaving it to go on twitching for several minutes after being detached, possibly to confuse predators. Their second pair of legs acts as their ears, nose, and tongue, and you can sometimes see them cleaning them with their other legs. Compared with the vast number of spiders, there is only in the region of 25 different harvestmen in Britain. Some of these have shorter legs, others stripes, and they can often be several different colours. Their sack-like bodies are usually just 3 to 4 millimeters in length, but their leg span can often approach 100 millimeters. They feed on a wide range of small invertebrates, for example worms, caterpillars, mites, aphids, springtails, and small snails, but also decomposing vegetable matter. For this reason, they can be found in a very wide range of habitats, for example trees, hedgerows, meadows, gardens, walls, as well as log piles, garden sheds, and compost heaps. Paroli Golophus agrestis is one of the most common species. Harvest mice. Another animal inextricably associated with harvest time is the harvest mouse. This is our smallest mouse, a mere 5 to 6 centimeters in length and just 5 to 8 grams in weight. It builds its cricket ball-sized nests in among reeds as well as corn. These aerial nests are usually suspended from near ground level up to as high as 1.5 meters when they build them in reeds. We see no entrance to these nests, as breeding females will close any hole as they leave. Any nest found may well have not been used as they tend to build more than they need and often only use them for just 3 or 4 weeks. Just over a century ago, harvest mice were common, but now only seem to turn up in London from time to time. Some effort is being made currently to reintroduce them. These attractive creatures, their behavior involving much swinging and gymnastics. They use their prehensile tails to grip one grass stem and then lean over to get hold of another, but never jump. At one time, they were popular pets, having no mousy smell and happily living up to 5 years in captivity. As you might expect, they eat wheat, barley, and oats, but can also catch flies with their paws. Due to their diminutive size, they easily die of exposure, even after heavy thunderstorms. As winter approaches, they leave these aerial nests and tend to move to drier ground, building moss-filled nests, perhaps in hedges or grass tussocks, to get them through the winter. Dormice, another attractive rodent, are a little more common in London, still holding on in woods with dense understory in the Bromley area. They also build aerial nests and are particularly fond of building them in regularly coppiced hazelwoods. Their nests are often quite low down in a tangled mass of branches and bramble, where leaves may have collected, covering the nest itself. Sometimes people claim to hear them snoring in such situations. They are famously lethargic, as Lewis Carroll reminds us in Alice in Woodland. They hibernate for half the year, from October to March, and sometimes even longer. During this period, their temperature and blood sugar falls, and their muscles tighten, and they become more rigid. This explains why they were able to be rolled across a tabletop without them waking up, and also why sometimes boys were known to keep them coiled up in their pockets. If woken, they are still quite lethargic for some time. In the 19th century, they were common in places such as Blackheath, Harrow, Perivale, and Coulston, but are now rarely seen, being nocturnal. Their presence is sometimes betrayed by honeysuckle that has been stripped, although other creatures can also be responsible for that. A more telling indicator are holes in hazelnuts that have very clean edges with no jagged bits. They have no prehensile tail like harvest mice, but are more agile and particularly good jumpers, using their tails for balance. Their drowsiness led them to them being called dozing mice or sleepers, and similar to harvest mice, they were at one time kept as pets. Caterpillars. The destructive activities of caterpillars, especially eating leaves, is particularly noticeable in August. Moths vary greatly on what time of year they lay their eggs and when they decide to pupate. Quite a number of their caterpillars have been feeding since the spring, some increasing their body weight as much as 800-fold. These are now large and often ready to pupate and consequently get noticed more. Knowing this, Victorian collectors would put them in matchboxes. The caterpillars would then immediately pupate, and so the collector would have a perfect specimen when the adult eventually emerged. Butterfly caterpillars tend to be small and either green or black, but moth caterpillars are often considerably larger and more colourful, some even reaching 8 centimetres in length. Generally, they feed at night and hide away near their food plant during the day, but others, such as the script and ghost moths, feed underground, so we are far less likely to ever encounter them. If looking for some of the more interesting species, it is worth examining favourite food plants such as oak, poplar, willow, beech, hawthorn, blackthorn, and nettles. Garden plants are also surprisingly popular, even alien plants such as buddleia. Many species rely on camouflage to protect them from predators, but others prefer bright warning colours or long poisonous hairs. Some have spent the summer feeding in tree canopies, now descend the trunk of the tree to pupate in the ground. On these journeys, we often notice them either on a trunk or crossing paths or pavements. Among the largest and most noticeable are the hawkmoth caterpillars. In London, there are 3 that might be seen: the lime hawkmoth on lime trees, and the eyed and poplar hawkmoths on poplars or willows. The lime hawkmoth, Mimus tillii, 60 millimeters, has caterpillars that have even been called beautiful. They have diagonal yellow stripes and red dots or eyes with white pupils set on a lime green background, although it does turn more of a purple-brown approaching pupation. The eyed hawkmoth, Smerinthus ocellata, 80 millimeters, caterpillar, is similar but more of a bluish green and has paler yellowish green stripes. And the poplar hawkmoth, Lautho 65 millimeters, is again similar but smaller with a yellow tail or horn, compared with the darker horns of the other 2. Whilst looking on poplars, it is also worth looking out for another unusual caterpillar, the poplar kitten, Facula bifida, 40 millimeters. It is a bright green with a purple saddle, but noteworthy for its 2 long, elegant tails. One of the caterpillars most likely to be seen this month is the black and orange yellow-striped cinnabar moth, Tyria jacobae, 30 millimeters, defoliating ragworts. The centre of London is not a place you would ordinarily look for caterpillars, but 2 you might see are the sycamore and the vapour. The sycamore, Acronicta acerus, 40 millimeters, feeds on sycamore, but also on horse chestnut and plane trees, all of which are common centrally. It is covered in long yellow or orange hairs and is occasionally noticed curled up in a U shape on pavements. The vapour, Orgia antiqua, 35 millimeter, also feeds on plane trees. It has a row of yellowish brush-like tufts along its back. Like so many other hairy caterpillars, these can cause a rash if handled. Other caterpillars with tufts, the tussock moths, include the pale tussock moth, Calyptera pudibunga, 40 millimeters, which were so common in hop fields prior to insecticides, they were known as hop dogs by the pickers. 2 other caterpillars naturalists always hope to encounter are the bizarrely shaped lobster moth and the equally extraordinary puss moth. The lobster moth, Steropus fagi, 60 millimeters, starts off life looking like an ant and ends up similar looking to a reddish-brown lobster. It may possibly still be found on beech trees in Epping Forest. The puss moth, Cerula vinula, 65 millimeters, conveniently feeds on the upper sides of poplar and willow leaves, but inconveniently holds on very tightly if the tree is shaken. So much so, collectors used to tie sticks together to try and knock them off. It is a bright green caterpillar with a purplish saddle. If alarmed, it swells in size, producing a scarlet collar, two menacing false eyes, and two bright red waving filaments. If this is not enough to deter its persecutor, it can also eject a spray of formic acid from the back of its head. A caterpillar much more easily found at this time of year is the campion moth, Siluridis rivularis, 35 millimeters. If the right fruit capsules of white campion are examined, inside there is often a small pot of seeds waiting to spill out, but occasionally instead there is a large caterpillar sequestering there during the day, presumably having eaten the capsule's contents. Sometimes, when a leaf is overturned, there is a collection of what look like green and black moth or butterfly caterpillars, which all raise themselves up vertically in an alarm position to deter predators. If examined more closely, they have more than four pairs of false legs or prolegs typical of moths. They will all be sawfly larvae. We often don't get to see butterfly chrysalises or moth cocoons being constructed or even find them, as they are often dark in colour, hidden away, or even buried. The silvery paper cocoons of burnet moths attached to grass stems on good downland are a notable exception.